Well, imagine you're a parent and you're faced with a decision that might change the personality of your kids altogether. Our next story puts you in the middle of that decision.
I'm a freelancer. I'm a freelance radio producer who I had worked with on another story that was a co-production with the New York Times that we did. It was about her adopted sister and finding her adopted sister and the kind of that journey. Or not her, or whatever, similar to adopted sister. And she sent me a pitch for a story about her son's brain tumor surgery situations. And the pitch she sent me was very different from the story that we ended up with, which is often the case. The pitch that she sent me had to do with kind of like her experience as a mom, and Spencer's recovery. It was like a lot to do with Spencer's recovery. But what interested, I was like, let me tell you what interests me about this. Like, what interests me is this question of like, is our brain who we are? You know? And then the other thing that interested me was that she had the tape. She had recorded in the hospital, right? So we had that like very live, very intimate, very like compelling tape, right? When someone like hits record in a moment of something, in a decision moment, which you almost never get. So for those two reasons, I was like, okay, I think we can make a story out of this. And then I thought, you know, like the two brothers stuff is pretty unique and interesting, you know, like when you get that situation. So then we took it from there.
Stewart's had 24 surgical procedures, and that would be those requiring anesthesia.
This is Stu's mom, Amy.
One when he was 15 and one when he was 16.
How would you describe your son, Stu?
I'm just going to give you some words. He's brilliant. And I'm not just saying that because I'm his mother. I think you'd hear that from anybody who knows him. He's an introvert. He can be cantankerous. But I think the surgeries have at times exacerbated some of those negative traits that I mentioned, the cantankerous part.
And while Stewart is stiff or brittle, Spencer is known by everyone in his family to be all heart and free spirit. He loves being outdoors. Listen to the...
Let's see. There were some interesting moments. This is like a family situation.
When Dr. Kim left the room, Amy looked at Steve and Stu and said,
Because before we say anything, I'm just going to count to 3 and everybody say yes or no. 1, 2, 3.
Yes.
Stu didn't say anything.
You saying no?
I don't know what I'm saying.
Okay.
That's
yeah,
fine.
that's
I
fine.
don't have to say right now.
You know,
Yeah.
I just, before we
You just said before we say anything.
I meant before we discuss it, I just want to like get like a straw
Okay.
poll.
And in interviewing Stewart, he was not happy that the story was happening. Not necessarily because of it said unflattering things about him, but he was concerned, rightly, that, you know, someone else was going to get to choose. He was like, you know, it's tricky being the subject of a story where someone else is going to choose the soundbite, someone else is going to put them in order, someone else is going to make the story, you know, using my words. And he's correct, you know, and that's like the essential moral problem of journalism, right? That we like using other people's stories, taking them apart, putting them back together in our own image to make the story we want, and we make money off it. And meanwhile, our subjects, you know, kind of get nothing. So there was that. And then we interviewed Stewart, and we interviewed Spencer, we interviewed Steve the dad. There's some tricky parts of Steve the dad where, like, nobody was really willing to say any of the ways in which Spencer was not himself. I think people were being pretty protective of him. So they're like, he's great, he's fine, he's doing better than before, which we were like, it doesn't feel that honest, you know? So, like, as a storyteller, how do we get to the honest bits there? And the answer is, like, just keep talking, you know, and keep re-asking questions in ways that are maybe going to get you a more interesting answer. Which is a lot of work. And then we just kept rewriting the script, and, we had to, like, really bump up the tension about making sure that the listener understood that Spencer said he never wanted surgery, making sure the listener understood the stakes of the decision that was being made, but not making it sound so medical that people tuned out, and just, like, didn't pay attention anymore because they felt alienated by medical language. We had a lot of takes with the doctor. We had to pick and choose what was the compelling stuff and what was the boring stuff. And then, we probably had 10 or 11 drafts of the story until we stopped. I'm not going to say we got it right, because I don't know if you ever get it right, but it got, right enough. And we had to move on.
I can't. It's like I woke up in a new life. So, different person, it's like two separate lives.
Is that okay with you?
Is that okay with me?
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't matter if it is or it isn't. Like, it is what it is. There's been times when I haven't been okay with it, but then I get worked up, and it's like, why am I getting worked up over this? There's nothing I can do to change it.
Not because there was a lot of time, like, for a lot of the time, it was not a very good story. Like, a lot of the talkers just kind of weren't giving us what we needed in order for it to be a good story. It just wasn't coming together. But I was like, I love this idea of, like, the brain, the intersection between your brain and your nature, and your personality. And, like, this seems like a really cool way to tell that kind of story. So, let's keep trying.
I don't think it has to do with your brain. Maybe a little bit. I think it has to do with your heart and, like, your metaphysical heart, not like your heart, like the red heart, that Valentine's Day heart, pretty much. I think it has to do with that kind of heart.
So it's an emotional story, and that's where audio really does best. Audio is an emotional medium. When you think about music, right, music makes you feel things, probably in a way more quickly and probably more deeply than the other mediums, right? Like when you break up with someone, I would say, like, you listen to a song over and over again. You're not like, well, I'm going to go read my favorite book, You're like, I'm going to listen to a song. I think one of the first senses that babies get in the womb, right? And you can recognize their mom's voice. So when you're working with audio, you know that you're going to play the strength of it with an emotional story. And then I think that the fact that she was able to record in those, like, really intense moments in the hospital, you couldn't have whipped out a video camera, right? Like, that was not the moment to be like, hold on, here comes my camcorder, even my camera phone. It would have been weird, right? Like, that would have been, like, a weird thing to do. But to be like, hold on, I'm just going to hit record. And she just said, like, so that I can go back and listen to what you're saying and, like, make my decision, like, so we were able to have that for the story in a way that we would not have been able to have with a printed video story. And again, like, to me, like, that's part of what really made that story worthwhile, valuable, was, like, being in that moment with them, being in the hospital with the doctor. So I keep saying those things with them, being there when Stu says, like, I'm not comfortable with this, I would make a different decision. So I wish we could have, like, gone there a little more scientifically, with some experts or even some research on my part, and, like, been a little more sure-footed in what we were saying about this, like, brain and character stuff. But as it is, like, it's pretty loosey-goosey in terms of, like, science or any kind of, like, authority, it's just kind of like what you might think as a brother or a mom, it's not so. I wish we could have done that. It's changing so much all the time, and we use Pro Tools, which is known as, like, the industry standard. It's like what most professionals use. But to be honest, it's really it's really expensive. It does a lot of fancy things. It's really expensive because it does a lot of fancy things that you don't need as a podcaster. Like, you just don't, really all you need is to be able to, like, move some words around, bring the volume up or down, like, put some music behind, like, that's it. You don't need to be able to do all these, like, very advanced kind of musical tricks. So I would recommend something cheaper, like Hindenburg or Logic. There's every reason to do stories you love. Like, if you're doing stories you love, you're going to make great stuff. And, like, that's going to get you in the door places. Because they're going to be like, wow, this is the person that made that really cool story about whatever it is. Or if you're, like, just making stuff for the money, kind of, and you're just making stuff, I don't know, because, like, your friend needed help or something like that, that's less of a life. And, like, not the reason you're doing this, you know? Rarely. Very rarely. Like, we don't ever, if we offer internships, they're always paid because our boss doesn't, like, believe in unpaid internships. But we just don't, we rarely have the money, the budget for a paid internship.